I've only just realised that the Candyman is not the person singing that song. When you sit down and listen to the song all the way through, it becomes blatantly apparent that the Candyman is actually referring to Willy Wonka. But because I'd never really sat down until yesterday and listened to the Willy Wonka soundtrack all the way through without the film and just listening to the lyrics and the music, I only realised that the Candyman is Willy Wonka and not the man singing. Aubrey Woods sings this song, of course. That's not the Candyman. And my mind was kind of blown because something I've believed for the best part of 3 decades nearly is not true. Thankfully, I still love the song, and this soundtrack is absolutely incredible. Now, I recently, the day before this, I listened to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory all the way through, which I love. I love Tim Burton. And it became quite apparent how very different they are. And this one's definitely more about Charlie, which is ironic because this is the one that's called Willy Wonka. But a lot of the songs when you see their titles, a lot of the music happens in the build-up to visiting Willy Wonka's factory. Whereas with Tim Burton's version, a lot of the songs happen once they're in the factory. So it's quite an interesting contrast there. So as usual, I just want to whittle through the songs, share some thoughts. I don't have a musical ear. I don't have the vocabulary to pick apart the songs from a technical perspective. I'm approaching this purely from a fan perspective. We will start with, of course, main title, which is beautiful, sets us up for what we can expect. Then we have the infamous Candyman, which I love, but it's, mind blown. Then we have Charlie's Paper Run, which never really moved me, never really, not something that I remembered that much. The same with Lucky Charlie. But before that, we have Cheer Up Charlie, which is sung by Diana Soul, who plays Mrs. Bucket. A very emotional song, really getting into the heart of the fact that this family is growing up in poverty. And I was going to say a comment there about, comparing it with Tim Burton's Bucket family, but I'm going to try my best to not compare this to Tim Burton's version. First of all, because this came first, but also because I want to discuss it in its own right. But it's a beautiful song, very emotional. Definitely makes it very clear that Charlie, although he tries to put on a brave face and have a sunny disposition, he is a child living in poverty with not a lot going for him or his family. I've Got a Golden Ticket, obviously fantastic. I think it's a song that people sing just in general. It's whenever something happens or you get that golden ticket in life, that song is a soundtrack. I adore it. One that I have to say I'm really pleased they kept in the stage musical is Pure Imagination. And Gene Wilder doesn't sing too much on this. Similarly, with Tim Burton's, Johnny Depp doesn't sing on the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory one. This one, Pure Imagination, is one of the most beautiful, hauntingly beautiful, but childlike innocent song. And I'm so glad they kept it in the stage version, which is worth seeing if you haven't. It's a really beautiful song. Track 8 is Oompa Loompa, which I adore. Out of all of the songs on this is the one that features most in compilations or in... there's a word that I'm looking for that I've lost. Montages, there we go. This one, for me, is definitely the most iconic song from this album, and I love it. It's definitely better with the visuals just because of the joy of the Oompa Loompas and how brilliant they look in the costumes and everything. But the song, I can't fault it at all. The Wondrous Boat Ride is, another Gene Wilder, and the boat scene really just terrifies me. Even now as a fully grown adult, it scares me. Everlasting Gobstoppers, Oompa Loompa, doesn't really bother me. Same with the bubble machine. The scene for the bubble machine scares me. It did then, it does now. The music obviously helps with the atmosphere and heightens the emotions, but for me it's definitely just the on-screen intensity that really gets to me. I Want It Now is easily one of my favourites. This is sung, of course, by Julie Duncan, who played Veruca. And it's weird that Veruca has a very, very iconic song here, but none of the other children do, really. And I think that's a bit peculiar. Whereas, to compare it again, with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, every child has a key song. So I'm not sure why that decision was made to just give Veruca a main song. But either way, fantastic decision, beautiful song, absolutely love everything about it. I found when I was listening to this, I know all of the words to that song, which is weird, because I don't really listen to this soundtrack that often, but I love it so much that it's just always in my head. And then we finished with Wonka Reveal and Wonka Vision and the Wonkavator, which is such a weird word. I don't think I've ever seen said Wonkavator out loud. And the music at the end is fine. It teeters off nicely with a version of Pure Imagination, and it concludes itself very, very well. It only lasts about half an hour, the album, if you just listen to it all the way through. But it's a very, very magical journey. I absolutely love it. As I said, I can't fault it. I can't even compare it to Tim Burton's version, because despite my addiction to Tim Burton and Danny Elfman, they're very different and both special in their own ways. If you have a favourite soundtrack, not the film, but the favourite soundtrack of the two, I'd love to know if you can make a decision. But I can't. But either way, 3 or 4 songs from this will be with me for my entire life. It brings back so many happy memories, and from start to finish, it's an absolute pleasure to listen to.